Good evening, Ham Radio 2.0. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to get started here in just a minute. I just need to talk into the microphone louder, I guess. See if you guys hear me now. Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Got a pretty fun stream lined up for you tonight. Special shout out to TheSmokinApe. We've had him on the show before, but it's been a while, and appreciate him joining us on the stream tonight. Special shout out to all you folks out there in Green Text, YouTube channel members. I saw Ham Radio Crusader in there early. Andy was in there pretty early as well. Other Andy, AA0AM, I see you in there. KJ5, BYD, KI4, MRC, several of you out there. Let's see, who else? Cliff Leith, thank you for being a YouTube channel member and supporter. W0RHP, Phillips out there, and several more. There's Don N5SKT, Ham Radio Wilderness with Frank. So appreciate you guys being in here and joining us tonight. Let me see. Let me get over to the correct screen here, and I'm going to show you guys right there. There we go. Okay. So I put some new stuff on I redid this website 2 days ago, I think. I put my long sleeve t-shirts and hoodies back up on the website. I usually take those down during the summer months, and so I put some back up because it's getting into winter. It's not cold yet. It's in the 60s in Texas, so that's not cold. I might have worn a long sleeve shirt a couple times in the last week or two. I might have done that early in the morning, and then I'd take it off by like lunchtime. But I did restock the Edfong antennas here. We've got a brand new shipment of roll-up J-poles that just arrived on Friday. So updated the website yesterday. I already sold a couple of those. So those are in there ready to go. And then, like I've said the last week or so, Gigaparts has a permanent coupon, 10% off of all coax, Mezzi and Poloni coax, and ABR coax, and all of the accessories and cutters and connectors and everything that those two companies make on this one page here. If you go to gigaparts.com/HR2 cables, or it's some funky, it's in the description. I'll get it for you here in a second. It's in the description, and you can go check that out and save 10% on all coaxial cables. And as I mentioned, I started mentioning this a couple weeks ago. We're building up the email list. I've got 18,000-ish subscribers now. Thank you to all of you who watched my Friday video. I had a lot of people join the email list after the Friday video. I get people dropping off the email list, so it's grown, but it hadn't grown as fast as what you might have thought it was, because every time one or two people join, every time 4 or maybe 5 people join, one person will drop off, so it kind of goes in ebbs and flows like that. But once we get to 20,000 subscribers, we are going to give away a new HF radio on the channel. Haven't decided what that's going to be yet, but we're going to do something, and it's going to be given away to one of the 20,000 subscribers on the email list. That's how we're going to divvy it up there. So more to come on that later. I suspect it'll be a few months before we do that, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun time. And yeah, go sign up on the email list, hamradio2.com/email-sign up. All right, let's get Ape in here, and I saw Frank just join the chat as well. And let me make sure I'm clicking on the right screen here. I guess that one right there. And you guys are unmuted. What's going on?
Listen, I don't remember Frank being part of the deal.
Oh no, my keyboard.
Yeah. Frank's kind of like one of those things that he's like, you know, when you invite your buddy over and he brings his wife with him, and you're like, I didn't invite her.
Well, what is that? A kimono you're wearing, Frank, or is that a?
No, it's an awesome overshirt.
No, all right, looking good, looking good, son.
Yeah. I'm kind of liking the style.
Oh, well, you're getting there, I guess. Hey, it's good to see you again, Frank.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. Don N5SKT says, when are the Ham Radio Tube shirts coming after the KWMD radio stuff shirts sell out? Well, Those are all print on demand, so they're really never going to sell out. But I think Mike has his own his new logo shirts on his own website now. I need to check with him and see what he wants me to do with the old logos. But technically, you can still get those.
I actually looked on trying to like print a shirt like this with some logos on it. It's hard because I wanted to like to be the pattern, all of it
right
down, not just one or two of them.
Yep. I've seen those ones where you can do somebody's face or your dog's face or something like that on the shirt, and they print them all over it. You might be able to do that with your logo. I don't know.
That's what they want, my face on their back.
We'll do the logo.
Yeah, that way they can't see it, right?
Right. Oh,
Jason,
what?
I'm one away. Just
look at
one
that.
away.
One away.
At
I suppose I could
4,000,
subscribe.
I am going to give away something on my stream.
What are you gonna give away, Frank?
The one thing I did let slip or slide is a K6 ARK antenna that I still have.
Okay.
So it's a kit. I am going to give that away. I said I was going to give away live if I hit 4,000 before I hit the end button. But
yeah, if I had one of those antennas, I'd give it away too. I don't blame you on that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just joking.
What's better than your 9-to-1, right?
Hey, the K6 ARK antenna. You know what? Both of those antennas are good, but the K6 ARK is quite more rare. You can get a car antenna pretty much anytime you want to,
and they're that big.
But, yeah,
that big.
I don't know. I'm not saying anything bad or negative about that.
Dude,
but, you know,
we run out of them all the time.
Oh, and, I'm sure. Yeah, you guys just restock them more than Adam does.
Yeah, well, we just ordered like 5 miles of wire, and you'd be shocked at how fast that stuff goes.
Oh my goodness.
I think Chuck strips it down and sells the copper, though. I mean, because we're constantly ordering stuff.
I was trying to tune mine before Kyle and I went on our Podarove. I was going to use that antenna and announce it, and I couldn't get my I would connect it to the rig expert, and it said, "Please connect an antenna," like nothing was there. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to Chuck. He's like, "Oh, you missed a solder spot here." I'm like, "Okay."
He showed me the pic just to get a second opinion on it.
Yeah. So
we
do that. I haven't tried to. There it is, Frank.
Congrats, Frank.
Congrats, Frank. That's cool.
4,000. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I soldered that spot on there, but I have not tried to tune it again yet. I need to do that. That's one of those things where
you should make a little a little dummy load for it. That way you can put it on there and just tune it with the rig.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I have one. Actually. Cool. All right, so we're going to be looking at. I've had this thing plugged in and charging. It's got its own little internal battery. Pull that out of there. This is TinySA, aptly named the TinySA. In fact,
they're small.
I want to zoom down on that a touch and see if I can get a little bit better. Yeah. Okay, you guys bear with me a second here.
We're bearing.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go back here, but I'm going to do this real quick because I just want to get a little bit better view on the actual SA there. Okay, there we go. So I've got this here. This is the TinySA. It comes from, I mean, you can get them a lot of places. You can get them on Amazon. I got mine from R&L Electronics. I've said a bunch of times on the channel, check R&L every day. He has daily specials up there. I don't know what the guitar pick is for, Ape. So
they use it as a stylus, but I don't like it. I use
like
these styluses, like these little.
Okay, I might not have another stylus here with me.
My fingers are too fat, but like you could use like a pencil eraser if you got a pencil.
Yeah, I've got a pen with the stylus on the end of it that I usually use, but I don't think I have it here right now.
How about I just dropped it on the ground? How about one of the pens that the electronic stylus?
It should work. You could drive that over there real quick, Frank.
Right. And it comes with these two cables here with SMA males on both ends, and then it comes with this little antenna thing here. That's, I guess, kind of neat. I don't know what.
That's if you can put that antenna on there, and then that way you can use the sniff around for RFI and stuff.
It'll like a detector then.
Yeah, okay. And like even the next version, the Ultra, it has a headphone jack on there, so you can actually use the antenna and then listen on radio stations and stuff like that on there. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hertz. It is. That's the case. It is everything that's going into the SMA connector.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, ham till it hurts. Yeah. Okay. So we got this 10 watt 40 dB attenuator off of, and this is off of Amazon as well. And we're gonna put that on one side and put the radio on the other side. So I grabbed, and I can go grab a couple more radios. I've got a couple more over there, but I grabbed the tried and true Fang. This is actually the UV5R3. This is the tri-band version. It has 220 on it. Gotcha. And then I have my FT65 here. So we've got a cheap radio and a cheap Japanese radio. So that might be something good there. But we need to do some setup on it, Ape tells me. So
yeah, hey, you're showing that Yaesu. I love Yaesu. I think they're fantastic radios, but
yes.
I was talking to a reasonably good person with credibility, and he told me they're made by Anytone, and he would know. So I was a little surprised by that.
I think that I don't. Okay, so the box, when I got this radio, this FT65, the box clearly said "Made in China," and I thought that's weird. It's a Yaesu radio. It's made in China. About, I don't know, 6-8 months after that, something like that, I had John on the show. We were talking about probably the FTDX10 when it was new, or maybe the FTM 200, one of those, a new radio. We were talking about a new radio. And he said recently Yaesu moved everything back to Japan. So if you bought an FT65 from whatever date that was forward, it would say made in Japan on it. I don't know. I've heard that before, and I don't know if that's true anymore. At one point in time, I think that was true. I don't know if the newer stuff is still made by Anytone, but
well, I knew that there were some that were made in China, and it bounced back and forth.
Right.
But here's the thing: that whole made in, that could just be the radio gets built somewhere and then the sticker gets put on in the final country. So that's that whole international law around that's a little sketch.
It is. And yeah, the whole made in the USA thing, I was talking to Battleborn Batteries at an overlanding show last year, and they said, well, they can't put made in the USA because several of their parts inside of the battery are sourced from Indonesia, China, whatnot. So they put assembled in the USA on their batteries. And these are Battleborn are some of the best, highest priced batteries you can find out there. But they said that they were starting to build a factory. This was like a year and a half ago. They were going to build a factory inside the USA to start making these cells that you could only source from China, so that they could actually put them made in the USA. But there's some stringent laws around that. But what John told me about the whole made in China with the FT65, he's like, it depends on where in the assembly line it goes. So if the last place it was assembled, you made all the parts in Japan, you send them to China, it got assembled in China, and they put made in China on the box. So yeah, I don't know. It's 6 1/2 dozen the other, I think. So
yeah, I could care less.
Yeah,
because the Anytone radios are fantastic. So that's what I'm saying. Yes,
they are. Yes, some of my favorite Chinese radios are the Anytone and the Waxon radios, or however you want to say that today. But
yeah,
yes,
so I mean,
agreed.
if it saves me $50 on a 65, then
right,
I have added.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's see. Okay, there's some setup we got to do here. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can actually see what I'm doing. So, Abe, tell me what to do on here.
All right, the first thing you want to do is you want to take one of those SMA cables that you had, and then you want to connect it to the 2 ports. The port on the top is called the high port. The port on the bottom is called the low port. And that's because they send and receive signals at different frequencies.
Right.
And I guess one's higher on the device than the other. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense that the high port is the high port, but you know.
Well, with the NanoVNAs, like you'll see them called port 1 and port 2, or channel 0 and channel 1, and S1 and S11 and S21. It's the labeling on these things is all over the map.
Yeah. That's Chinese ingenuity for you. But okay, done.
Now you want to connect them together with the you can use one to connect both of them, or you can connect them together with that little barrel doohickeys.
Oh, to the is this for like the calibration?
Yes.
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to do is run a self-test on it, and it should pass the self-test, no problem. Then after that, we run a calibration, and you don't have to do that every time you run it.
Right. Yeah. This is brand new out of the box. I've actually had this thing for a while, but I've never used it.
What's up, Bob?
There we go. Which Bob?
HOA Ham Bob.
HOA Ham. Yeah. What's up, dude? Okay. All right. We're connected.
All right. And then if you hit the menu, so if you tap anywhere on it, you should get the menu.
Yep.
And then you want to go to config, and then under that you'll see self-test.
Okay. Oops. Come on.
Yeah, that little jog button is super, super sensitive.
Yeah, it is. Okay, it's doing something.
I can see they're passing.
Yeah. Test 1 pass.
So when you got this one, it was before they started getting cloned all over the place. And R&L is a good supplier for NanoVNAs and TinySAs. But one of the things is that the clones will actually pass all the self tests until you update the firmware with legitimate firmware. Then they'll start failing on them. So if anybody out there updates the firmware and they start failing, you probably got a fake.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Okay.
Now I can't see what that says at the bottom,
says
but
touch screen to continue.
all right.
So
all right. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do the calibration. And so then you want to go back to config, and then under there, you should see something that says level cal.
Level cal. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay.
And so I can't see I can't read that.
It says calibrate, reset calibration, or back.
You want to go to calibrate.
Yeah, it's the first option.
Yeah, and then if it ever acts goofy, what I'll do is I'll reset the calibration and then run the self test, then do the exact same stuff again.
Okay.
And so what's happening now is that high port is ejecting a signal, and the low port's picking it up, and it's going to be off. And so what it's doing now is adjusting itself to the signal at the top.
It says calibration complete at the bottom.
There you go, man.
Okay.
So what you want to do now is you want to unscrew the cable from the top port. You're good to go there.
Okay. Frank, you watching the chat?
Yes, sir, I am. One comment real fast. Can you increase your audio level?
Me?
Yes. Or you're working on it. You're moving away from the mic.
Yeah, I move away from the mic when I need to. Well, hold on. Yeah, I can do that. Hold on. Okay, that should be a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a little bit better right there. But yeah, I was I had changed some stuff for Kyle's live stream the other night, so I thought I put it back pretty close to where it was.
They want me to put my splaining glasses on, so
right. Okay. All right, good.
All right, so hit the menu and then just back out of that. There you go. You're good.
Okay. All right.
So what we want to do now is we want to hook up the attenuator.
Mm-hmm.
And so the SMA male side, so that's the one that had, there you go. That is the in. So that's the one you want facing the radio.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
goes on the high side?
No. You're going to hook it to the cable going into the low. We're done with the high port for right now.
We're done with the high port. Okay.
So Joe Brett, what's up, Jim? Joe Brett was having a heck of a time with one of his showing, like he was running the thing and you could see the harmonics, but the labeling wasn't right on the values. And so we troubleshot that thing forever. And I said, just send it to me and we'll test it out and see if we can figure it out. And then TO started having the exact same problem. And working on it with TO, it turned out that their 40 dB attenuators are bad.
Ooh,
so,
really?
Yeah. So these things can be sensitive if you send the power the wrong direction. Some attenuators are fine bidirectionally. Some of them aren't. Mm-hmm. And the other one is that if you put too much juice through these for too long, you might get a little bit of a problem there. So I did a video on how to test your attenuator if anybody out there is not seeing it. So like when we pushed 5 watts into the TinySA, it should read about negative. It should read about 37 dBm. Mm-hmm. So a dBm is a decibel in reference to a millivolt. And so that's the metrics that we typically use. Now I'll show you how you can actually test watts on this thing too, which is pretty nice.
Okay.
But around 37 is where you want it to be for 5 watts. And theirs was reading like 3 or 4 watts or 3 or 4 dBm. It's like, nah, bro, that ain't right. And then, so now you want to just,
supposed to be 37. It was 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Wow. That's way off.
Yeah. So now you want to hook the attenuator into your radio.
Okay. You want to do the Fang first? Or you want to do the?
Sure, man. We do the Fang first, and then when you power the radio up, you want to set it to. I always set it to 14652, just because it's a super common frequency.
That's probably.
Now, did I miss it, or did we also tune it or calibrate it with the attenuator inline. Is the attenuator going to do anything?
No, you don't want to do that. So it's not like a TinySA. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not like a NanoVNA.
It's not like a NanoVNA. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, good. So there we go right there.
Now turn that baby on and set it for 14652.
No, I think we're in.
I didn't hear the Baofeng lady. Did you hear the Baofeng lady, Frank?
No. He has it turned off.
I probably do have it turned off, actually.
There it is.
You hear that?
And then just check your power level on that so we know what we're working with.
We're on high.
All right, that's good.
We went on high?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Assuming that the attenuator's correct.
yeah.
Might be a short video.
I don't know. If this is one of those wish.com 150-watt Baofengs, what happens to that attenuator?
It's going to get past that. It's going to smoke the SA.
Okay.
So what we want to do is a lot of folks, like you can key up right now and you'll see you'll see the fundamental frequency and you'll also see some other stuff on there.
Yep.
I can tell you right now that doesn't look good. And but so go ahead and unkey it. And so what I like to do is it actually has a feature built in specifically for measuring harmonics. So activate your menu.
Mm-hmm.
And then go to measure. What's up, Vern 6?
Okay, measure.
And then under that, you should have harmonic.
Yes.
And so it's going to ask you for a frequency once you pick harmonic.
Uh-huh.
And then type in 146.52 and then hit the M for megahertz. And so a lot of people just hit ×1 and that'll give you 146 hertz. And so like people are like,
okay,
I can't see my signal.
Yeah.
I may have fallen victim to that once or twice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right.
Vern's in there. Vern's in there.
Pop his chat up. Go ahead.
He's there would be no foul language on this stream, Vern.
There is no foul language.
Yeah, no foul language.
The Rangers are gonna win tonight.
Let's go Astros. Yeah. No foul language. No foul language on the stream, buddy. You drive a Ford. You should know better than that.
All right. So go back to the main top menu.
Okay.
And then there should be something called level in there.
Yes.
And then so go to level, and then you want to pick external gain.
Yep, it's at 0 right now.
Yep. So hit external gain, and then you want to type in negative. It's real important to do that. Negative 40. So 40. And then ×1.
×1. Okay.
So what that did is it just adjusted or accounted for the 40 dB attenuator. So we should be good there.
For this guy. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so again, at the top menu, you want to go into, there is something called display.
Display. Yes.
Yep. You know what? And don't go into display.
I already did.
Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 second.
Right, that's fine. I'll go back. I didn't change anything, so we're good. Yeah, there's a I just realized there was a glare on the screen. Sorry, guys. Somebody should have said something. If somebody said something in chat about the glare on the screen, then Frank missed it. So
I didn't see it.
Okay. Oh, they're all talking about baseball in there.
Yeah,
I honestly don't care. But I know I'm supposed to be a Rangers fan, but I really don't care.
I'll be honest.
I don't care about sports much at all. Anyway.
Here. I grew up a Ranger fan, but yeah.
Give me 1 second here. I can't.
Go ahead, man.
For the love of God, I can't remember where the thing is that we want to.
Okay, no worries.
So that was interesting that we told the Nano SNA. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. VNA. That we had the attenuator on it. So how does that take account? Because I was surprised by that because we'll see the voltage coming in from what's supposed to be going to the antenna, but what does it need to account for that?
So what'll happen is the attenuator reduces the power. In this case, it reduces the power coming out of the radio by 40 dB. So that's what you're going to see inside the TinySA. So when you get a reading, what you could do is you could just add 40 dB to that, but we don't like math. So what we do is we set for that.
Yes. Very, very Very wise words there. Yeah,
Will
we don't
that
like
change
math.
the frequency though? That shouldn't change the frequency.
No, it's just the power levels.
Yeah.
It's like an attenuator on your It's like an attenuator on the receiver on your HF radio.
It's exactly right.
So, yeah.
So if you go to top
Okay.
menu display, there should be a option for draw line.
Draw line. Yes, there is.
So pick that.
Okay.
And then hit negative 16.02.
Okay, where are you getting that number?
I'll tell you in 1 second, and hit the
Okay.
times 1.
Times 1. Okay.
So
we're there. Okay.
when we operate a radio that is 25 watts of power,
there's a blue line right there that's probably not visible in the camera. Well, maybe.
No, it is.
yeah, we can see it.
Okay,
That's
good.
exactly what you want.
Good.
So for radios operating 25 watts or less in the frequencies that we're going to be testing today, any spurious emissions need to be 40 dB below the fundamental. So the fundamental is the one on 14652. All the rest of the spikes have to be 40 dB down. Now they also need to be below 25 microwatts, 25 microwatts. So 25 microwatts is negative 16.2 dBm. So we draw that line there so we can see that if it's above the line, but it's still 40 dB down, we know that the radio still failed. And so that's something that is an important step because it's the second piece of that law. Almost everybody only tests for negative 40 dB. Because when they see 25 microwatts, everybody's like, well, what the F is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time being like, F it, you know.
Yeah, yep. Okay.
So you want to make sure you do that. All right. So
Okay.
when we key up now, any spurious emissions that you're going to see on there are going to be in a data table, and it's going to tell you, it's going to give you a delta marker. And a delta is the difference between your primary signal when we typed in 14652 and so it's going to tell you how many cycles away it is, and it's going to tell you the reference in terms of decibels. So key up, son.
Gotcha. Okay, here we go.
Now just hold that in for a couple seconds because it's going to take it's sorting itself out.
It's definitely moving.
Yeah, so because it has like an internal attenuation that it'll apply and stuff
Right.
like that. So at the top of that, your marker number 1 should say 14652 or close to it, and then it should give you a value in the yellow text at the top.
Oh, the yellow text. Okay, 146.5 at 34.0 dBm.
All right, so 34.0 is a little bit less than what we expect, but Baofeng's never put out what they advertise.
Correct.
And then what does the marker for marker number 2 say?
It says 146.5 also at negative 14.4 dBc.
So dBc means in comparison. So that means it's only
Okay.
14 dB below the fundamental, which is a huge fail.
Okay.
Now with the TinySA, you can only see up to 350 megahertz. So you're not going to see third, fourth, and fifth harmonics, but I guarantee that they don't pass either.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So what we can do is we can reconfigure it and feed the signal into the top high port to see anything above 350 megahertz.
Okay.
But we don't need to. So that second harmonic that we saw there, it's above the blue bar and it's now 40 dB down. No, illegal. Put it in the trash.
Right. Yes, I got a real fang test. That's how I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to do that.
Well, I got to tell you, that's why I bought the TinySA, and when I got it,
Right,
I was
right.
intimidated by the thing. I didn't even take it out of the packaging for like 6 months because I was like, I'm just gonna break it.
Right. Yeah. They seem like they're rather fragile. This is in my opinion, this is a shack testing tool. I wouldn't put this in a backpack and go hiking with it, but they are neat for what they do.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they're super duper sensitive, and so like you can have them like when you're doing tests. Sometimes you'll see spikes and spurs moving around from like coaxial cable or from category 5 cable or anything like that.
Right.
So activate the menu and then go under unit.
We have a question here.
Go ahead.
Is the total power out? Maybe you can bring that up.
It is. I see it. So he's asking the total power output. Is it an aggregate of the fundamental plus all harmonic spurs? If so, the total output of 5 watts is the fundamental plus the sum of spurs. Yes. So the thing is that when you use like, if you were measuring power and you see all of us do it, I do it, everybody, I think Jason does it, uses these to test the power output of a radio. Any frequencies that'll fit through the port on this thing, I can't read it. But any frequencies that'll fit through here, it is an
Yeah.
aggregate of any spurious emissions on those frequencies.
Right.
Because it
Okay.
just, so the way these work is that they just detect voltage that's coming through. These don't really work on frequency. So it just
Right.
takes the voltage and then passes it along, and then it gives you it'll do a conversion for the voltage to the
Yeah.
meter.
Yeah.
So under there, you should have something that says watts.
I don't have a unit in the top menu.
Oh, go to level and then go to unit.
Level. Okay. Level, a unit. Okay, yeah.
And then you
Okay.
should have watt in there.
Watt, yes. Correct.
So go ahead and pick that, and it's going to look crazy. So you can't
Yeah,
even see your line on there right now. But go ahead and key
Right.
up,
Okay.
and then you should be able to see the marker table, and it should tell you what the primary's at. It's going to take a second to calm itself down.
Yeah. In the yellow text at the top again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what is it saying for the
The first one says 146.5 at 2 point, kind of moving around, 2.5,
So that means
2.52 watts.
Yeah, so that means on that frequency, you're getting about 2.5 watts out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is always, people are like, what? Now you can see like how
Yeah.
far apart those peaks are there.
Yes.
It's because watts is a linear scale, dBm is a logarithmic scale, which is a lot easier for us to deal with when we're talking about two different
Right.
measurements that are so far apart.
Right.
Especially for displaying it on there.
Yes.
So you can unkey it, but that's how you can check watts at a particular
Okay.
frequency.
At a specific frequency. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so if you like, I use the TinySA Ultra because I think it goes up to like 5 gigahertz.
Yeah.
So I can actually see how strong my harmonics are all the way up. So like,
Mhm.
I might have a radio that's doing 3 watts on my primary, which is fine. But then I might have a secondary that's doing like 1.5 watts, right? And so you start to think about, hey, 1.5 watts, it's going to get out. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. A lot of your 220 radios only do 1.5 watts. So, well, if they're a tri-band radio, they might only do 1.5 watts. Yeah, it works. It can work.
So we can just unhook the Fang and then hook up the Yaesu if you want. Without we'll have to change. We'll change the levels back to what we have for DBM.
So, while you're doing that, I had a question here. This is my question. You said the device is limited in the range it's scanning. Is that just the display, or it's able to scan more? And
so I think that the TinySA, and I've got 2 of them sitting here. So look at me, I'm all fancy.
double fisting those SAs.
Yeah. So the low port goes from 0 hertz to 350 megahertz. And then the top port goes from 350 megahertz to 900 megahertz.
Mm-hmm.
The way that TinySA Ultra works, which is this one, and this one you can set it to go all the way up to 5, but it uses harmonics itself in order to get some of these higher frequencies. So I mean, if you're really testing super high frequencies, I mean, this is fun for dicking around, but it's not really the best device for that. But for amateur radio stuff, it's fine. And people are gonna be like, well, what if I'm operating in the 5 gigahertz band? And I tell them, I say, son, if you're operating in that band, I know what that equipment costs. You can afford a real spectrum analyzer.
That's a good point. Bill's asking how many watts at the Spur harmonic, and it was about 1.5. That last test we did where it was 2.5 at 146.5, it was reading 2.51, 2.52 watts. At the Spur, it was about 1.5.
Well,
so if you tested that on your power SWR meter, it's probably going to tell you 4 watts out.
Right, exactly.
Right, and then you're like, hot damn, son, I'm getting my 4 watts.
That's right, yeah.
Look at me, boy.
Will each Spur decrease as it gets farther away from the main transmitting frequency?
Yeah, they should.
Okay.
Now,
well, there shouldn't be Spurs there at all.
It shouldn't. No, but, I agree.
But yeah. But yes, okay, yeah.
But Jim had an Abreed radio, and he keyed it up, and that thing had like a whole mess of Spurs that were like practically flat all the way across. I never laughed so hard. I was like, man, dude, I was like, that thing is crazy. And so I told him, I said, grab another radio and see. And all the frequencies he was tuned into, he could hear himself plain as day.
Oh wow!
I was like, man.
He tuned his another radio to the Spur frequency.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Okay, we got the Yaesu hooked up. Let's
go back to the top menu, and you want to go into level, then unit, and then change it back to DBM, and make sure the radio's on 14652.
I just realized this radio's dead. I thought it was turned off.
Oh damn!
Welcome to my life.
Yeah,
And
I feel like-
you'll never
feel
find
like-
the cradle for it. That's the problem that I've got.
Oh gosh, I know. Yeah. Let me grab something else. I've got a couple of radios over there. I do want to grab either a Yaesu or a Icon. So
Is
let
your
me
B1
grab something.
charged?
Yes, it is, but it's inside.
Ah,
That would be fun though.
yeah.
Let me grab something else real quick, and you guys can have the floor for a second.
We got the floor.
Ronald, I was going to save this question for a little bit later, but have you hooked up your TinySA to a computer using the USB? A small program should be able to do it.
Yep, I do it all the time. So he obviously isn't a subscriber to my channel, so shame on him. If we could ban him, that would be fantastic. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
Done.
it's called. I use TinySA app. There's a couple of other apps that folks have used because I think TinySA app is open source. So what I would say is that try that. I do it all the time just because it's easier to display, like when I'm making videos and stuff like that. But if I was just testing stuff, around the shack or whatever, I generally don't use it.
What is the max number of watts it's going to be able to handle safely?
Well, it's not many. So I think you can only feed in about 6 dB into it, which is super duper low. And like that's you're talking milliwatts at that, even low milliwatts at that level. So that's why we put an attenuator in line, and then we compensate for the attenuator like we did in the demonstration. So if I had a 200,
I see the math now. Okay.
yeah, because like I've pushed 200 watts into these things before through. I call it my big ass attenuator. So like I've got this one. Yeah, and I'll use this, or I'll use something like it's not opened up, so I can't show you the guts. I built it. This is an RF sampler that I built. And what this allowed me to do is get a negative 37 dB signal off of here. I just feed antenna in and then hook this to a dummy load, and I can use something like this.
That's pretty cool.
That was super easy to build. I got a video showing how to do it.
Last question, we'll fast here. What is the difference between a TinySA and a NanoVNA?
So a TinySA is a little bit different. And so like the way I describe it is that if I'm measuring like devices, so like say I build a bandpass filter or something like that, and I want to see how that filter behaves, I'll use the NanoVNA to test that because it has an out port and an import. So I can take a known signal from the out, feed it through the filter, and then measure it on the import. It also can do reflection measurements. So I can measure things like SWR and stuff with the TinySA that I cannot measure with the I can measure with the NanoVNA, not the TinySA. So when I want to look at signals, I'll use the TinySA, and that allows me to look at signals at particular frequencies. And there's a ton of stuff, and we'll do some more tests with here because we still got about another 40 minutes or so. And we'll take a look. The TinySA does a lot of stuff. Now, one of the things the TinySA doesn't have is called a tracking generator. So your higher end spectrum analyzers will have a tracking generator, and that does an output signal that is it's synchronized to the sweep that is taking place, and you can feed that through like things like filters and stuff. But the TinySA also works as a signal generator, so we'll do a quick test with that too.
Okay. I have I got my FT5.
Cool.
So we're on 146.5. Now you wanted me to set something else on the
yeah, so go back into the main menu and then go to level. I think it was level, yeah.
Level, yep.
And then unit should be under there.
Yep.
And then switch that back to DBM.
DBM, yeah, that's where it was originally. Okay, we got the blue line back now.
Nice. So just go ahead and key that baby up.
All right.
Now you're seeing some stuff in there, but that's generally because of mixing in the TinySA, and it should drop down.
Yeah, the spur on the top there is dropping down. So we've got 146. The left hand reading is 146.5, 34.4 dBm.
Okay.
And the second one is 146.5 at a negative 54.4 dBc.
So that means it passes, right? So it's below the blue line, and it's more than 40 dB below.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're getting some additional attenuation because of the coaxial cables are in line.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, since because there's an SMA port on the SMA on the attenuator and the radio are the same. So I didn't have another barrel connector with me right now. So that'd be an interesting test to switch them out and see how different they might be.
Yeah, so you can use your NanoVNA to test that. To test the attenuation, because like you would think that, hey, this is only like 8 inches of freaking coax. How much can it attenuate? But you'd be surprised.
Especially especially if somebody didn't solder it correctly and maybe there's a loose connection in there or something with that SMA connector to the coax itself, something stupid like that.
And you're talking about
you never know.
Not
you
soldering
never know.
right.
No. You can rest assured that those coaxial cables are not lab grade.
right. Totally. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. What's up, Uber Geek?
All right. So we're side boom in the house.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So we're obviously the Yaesu is much negative 54, and you said if it's under negative 40, then it passes. That's the and that's the reason we got the 40 dB attenuator that we're testing with.
Yeah, so your two markers said 146.5 megahertz. The reason the second one says that is because it's saying it's 146.5 away from the fundamental. And so that's exactly what a harmonic is. It's a doubling of the frequency.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Because like people will call me up and say, Ape, all my markers said, both my markers say 1465. And I was like, don't worry about it. You're good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard. Yeah, and that's a lot of the times why you can. That's the reason a 40 meter and a half wave end-fed or center-fed, whichever 40 meter HF antenna is a harmonic of 15 meters. That's why it'll work on 15 meters a lot of times.
Yeah, well, it's a harmonic of 20. So like
it is. Yeah.
And all the ham bands are harmonically related by design.
Right.
Because of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you think about 40 meters at 7 megahertz, well, then 7 times 2 is 14, that's 20 meters. 7 times 3 is 21, that's 15 meters. And 7 times 4 is 28, that's 10 meters. So
there you go, man.
An end-fed half wave cut for 40 meters will often be resonant on those 4 bands. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, on 10 meters, it's because 10's so porky, right? Like so like sometimes you get a little goofiness there.
Well, and sometimes, and it kind of depends, you got to realize also that the ham bands are not exactly the same in every country around the world. So it's not it's not like 7.255 megahertz is exact harmonic of whatever on the 20 meter band. So it can kind of vary a little bit in there, but it's close enough where you can actually get a really good 4-band antenna with using no tuner if you have like the PAC antenna. The PAC antenna is fantastic on those 4 bands. Now I tuned up the spark plug gear 100-watt antenna, and it was beautiful on 40, 20, and 15. But on 10, it was a little high down in the bottom technician portion of the band, 28.3 to 28.5. It was around 2 to 1. Instead of like 1.4 to 1, not a big deal. Not a big deal. You hit your tuner on your FTDX10, you're good. Or you just run with it 2 to 1, which would probably be fine. You go a little higher on the band, and the SWR comes down a little bit.
Yeah. So with those end-fed half waves, the higher frequencies that you're using, the more inductive the antenna looks.
Correct.
And so that's why a lot of them add a capacitor. I'm pretty sure the spark plug's got a capacitor in there. I don't know 100%.
I think so.
But one of the things that happens with the induction is that your voltage will start to lead your current. So when by adding the capacitance, it kind of marries them back up.
Yeah.
So like everybody kind of blanket says that you should use 100 picofarad capacitor on those antennas. Some people have better luck with 80. Some people use 120s. So I guess if you really want to get in the guts of tuning the antenna, I use 100. I use 100 picofarad.
100 picofarad. Yeah. Okay. Good.
And then somebody had a question in here, W6 IWN, and let me see if I can find it. He was saying, throw a talk pod on there.
Toss a talk pod on there. I saw that.
So I've used the talk pod. I've tested the talk pod. It's the worst radio that I've ever used in my life. Yeah. And like here's what's crazy about it.
Me.
Like I feed the signals of radios into my oscilloscope so I can look at the carrier and make sure that the waveform's correct. And it was detecting the frequency at like 256 megahertz when the radio was supposed to be on 146. I had a Baofeng say that it was like 158 as opposed to 146. And I was just like, man, but the talk pod was, the guy won't even my last 2 emails to him, he won't even respond to the emails anymore.
He's like, "Uh-oh, this guy knows what he's talking about." Delete.
Yeah. Well, I get fired all the time from people send a radio to me, and I'll test it. And I always tell them up front, I was like, "Hey, whatever it tests, I'm going to show it." And they're like, "Yeah, no, we're confident in the product." And then all of a sudden, they're like, "What the F? Why didn't you tell us?"
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll tell them, and they're like, "Show it. You can show it anyway." But
yeah.
With the talk pod, the reason I didn't feel bad about being as brutally honest as I was about the performance of the radio is the radio that I got came with an instruction manual for a different radio. And then I asked other people who got them, and they got the wrong radio as well. Also, mine has a sticker on it that says it's for ham, but when I got it, it was set up for GMRS. So I don't know if I had the right radio or not. And the other one is that I believe there was some chicanery with the FCC ID number that they were originally putting on there.
Oh,
so
no,
like,
that never happens.
Yeah, well, I'm like, hey, if you're going to screw hams over, then I've got no problem.
Right.
Just showing just how fantastic your radio is.
So I saw T.O. and Hayden and Josh and a couple other guys did.
Mike is joining.
Huh? Oh yeah, I saw, no. I saw the TalkPod videos from these guys, and I'm like, and they're all like, yeah, TalkPod sent me this TalkPod, and I'm like, oh, my feelings are hurt. TalkPod didn't send me one, so I went and got on Amazon and I bought my own. I'm like, okay, now I can really talk about it the way I want to, and then I checked my spam filter like 2 days later, and TalkPod did send me an email and offer me, but it was in my spam folder. So I'm like, well, I already bought one now. I don't need it. Thanks anyway. And I did the same thing. I'm like, my God, this thing is terrible. Oh my goodness. And I didn't post the video, but I wouldn't have felt bad posting the video because I actually bought it on Amazon. I paid for it. I'm like, you know what? This is my honest opinion. Here you go.
Well, so. The thing is like, they had been reaching out to me for a long time, and I just kept ignoring the emails. And because the thing is that I was like, I don't want to review a radio that sucks, right? Because I don't want to go, and I know it's going to suck. And it was the exact same way with the H8 with the TID radio. Like that guy he went from asking me to test their radios before they market them now to he won't respond to my emails anymore because I kept finding all these problems.
He sent me like 3 of these. They sent me the original one, then they sent me the updated version, and this is like 2.0. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hey, man, at least they're trying. At least they're trying. It's like that Waxon 4-bander that came out a while back had a couple of spurious problems with the first version. They were real quick to come back and update that and fix several of the problems with it. So I can't fault them for that. At least they're trying. But
I think they had some chicanery with the FCC.
Well,
and so
probably so.
We got to a point. He was like, "Hey, we want to start sending you our radios before we sell them to test."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's fine." And then he goes, "But can you take down the videos that you put up?" And I said, "No, I can't." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. Give me the serial numbers of the ones that have bad hardware, not firmware, but bad hardware." And they were like, "We can't do that." And then I was like, "Well, then I'm not taking the videos." Because the thing is that we're going to do a video and just say, "Hey, if you have this one, then you've got one that gets hot, that makes goofy noise and transmits the noise and all that other stuff." So
yeah. Well, yeah, and apparently, you would order some of those on Amazon, and they would. Some of them were GMRS only, some of them were ham only, and mine was full open. Mine was, and I didn't, and like I said, and I even said this in the video. I made a video that I never posted. I said this, I was like, look, TalkPod, they don't know who I am. I ordered this on Amazon. I just went out there, regular account, ordered it, got it in. This thing is full open transmit, and it has a freaking FCC sticker on it. So something's not right there. Right. I'm not saying I agree with it or don't agree with it. I'm just saying that's very sus. That's all I'm saying.
So. I'm totally right there with you.
Yeah.
Chris Bricker, what's up, Chris? He's asking if there's differences between the TinySA and the TinySA Ultra that would push you to use the Ultra. The Ultra is bigger, so it's got a 4-inch screen versus a 2.8.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, what's only an inch? And so it's huge difference.
It makes a big difference because my NanoVNA is the 4-inch screen, and it is much bigger than this. This thing is hard to see. If you got T.O. calls them old man eyes, and I think I agree with that. So if you got to put this on to see this, then the 4-inch screen makes a big difference. So I don't know if it's worth twice as much money.
It is because you also get the much larger frequency on screen, so you can see. So I would say, go ahead and do that.
That makes
Let's get back to
Makes sense.
we're going to do another test.
Okay, let's do something else then. Good. What are we doing?
So what we want to do is we want to switch the cables around so that the output of the TinySA is going into, so just like where you're connected to the radio and the TinySA, switch that. Yep. Switch that one with the one
This
going
one?
into, yep. Not on the TinySA, with the one going on the radio.
Okay.
So switch those.
Switch. Okay. You take it off the radio and go where?
Now unscrew the one on the TinySA.
Okay.
And then
you want to do it the other way?
Yes.
I thought you weren't supposed to do that.
Well, we're going to do something different. Now we're going to test the front end of the.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go backwards.
We are.
Uh-huh.
And then while you're doing that, I'm going to just pull up my dB chart just to make sure I get this right. We're safe because the attenuator anyway, but
right, no, we're good. Yeah, just don't blow up my FT5. I'll be happy. Okay.
All right, so an S9 signal is negative 73 dBm on HF.
Sounds right. It sounds right.
It's negative 94 on UHF and VHF because they hear better, I guess. So they say an S9 signal is actually much weaker in UHF and VHF. So what we want to do is we want to hit the top menu.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the bottom of that, let me just flip mine on so I can make sure I do this right. There's something called mode.
Mode, yes.
So you want to pick that, and then you should have something that says low out.
It says switch to high end, switch to low out.
Yeah, so you want to switch to low out.
Switch to low out. Okay.
And then whatever it says at the bottom, you can. Oh, so what does that say there?
It says low output is off.
Yep, leave it off for right now.
Frequency is 10 megahertz.
So click on the frequency and set it for 14652.
While he's keying that, is the attenuator directional? Mike is asking.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them are, but these are.
Yeah, this one has markings on it like it is. Okay, the level is negative 7.0 dBm.
What does it say on there?
Negative 7.0 dBm.
Yeah, what we're going to do is that down at the bottom you have something that says external gain.
Yes, it's at 0.
So you want to hit that, and then you want to set it to negative 40.
Negative 40, okay.
Like we did before. So now we're accounting for the attenuator.
Negative 40 times 1, right?
Yep. And that should change your level from whatever it was. It should have tacked 40 on there. So it probably now says negative 47, right?
Correct. Yes, that's right. That's right.
So there's it says set right in the middle of that level. Hit that set.
Set, yeah.
And then you want to do negative, let's start with negative 125.
Okay.
And then hit the times 1. And then
okay, where did the 125 number come from?
So that let me just pull my chart here. I can't remember.
You got some chart that tells you that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
so negative 125 is just below an S4 signal.
Okay.
So that's about where radios can hear. Sometimes they get a little bit lower than that.
Okay.
Now you have something that says mod. That's short for modulation. You want to hit that?
I don't have a mod. Yes, mod, it says none.
Yeah, so you want to hit that, and then you want to just pick narrow FM.
Narrow FM. There's a FM 3 kilohertz and FM 75 kilohertz. I assume it's the 3
Yeah,
kilohertz
pick the
one.
3 kilohertz.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it should say down there, go back in there, and it'll also have a frequency set.
Yes, it's at 1,000 hertz right now.
Okay, perfect.
That's what you want?
Yeah, mine says 5,000 for some reason, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, 1,000
All right, now
hertz.
when we turn this on, we're going to be setting an S4 signal from the TinySA into your Yaesu Radios. So go ahead and hit it on. So where it says off, just hit the off, and it'll turn. Yep. Hear that?
Yep.
So what you're hearing there is a 1 kilohertz or 1,000 hertz modulated tone on top of a sinusoidal carrier.
Okay.
And so you can hear how it's cutting in and out a little bit. Now
it's not. That's probably zoom to you.
Okay.
It's not. It's solid here. It's not cutting in and out at all.
All right. So under that level on the left-hand side, it'll say minus 10 dB.
Yes.
Really small.
Yes.
So click where it says minus 10, and so that should drop it down to negative 135.
That doesn't seem to do anything. It's at negative 116 right now. That doesn't seem to change it.
Well, make sure you're clicking right on where it says the -10. So you might need to use the pointy thing.
Yeah, let me get the pointy thing. Where'd that go? Oh, here it is. Okay. Does it have to be on when I do that?
It can be on or off. It doesn't matter.
That doesn't seem to change anything.
All right. Well, then just hit set again and then type in 135.
135.
Negative. Make sure you do -135.
Negative 135. Yeah. Negative 135 times 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it only goes to 116. I'm pretty sure that's what I put last time. It only goes to 116.
You're right. It's the TinySA Ultra goes lower than that.
Ah, okay. Yeah, this one doesn't go down that low then.
All right. Well, whoever was asking, there's another reason for you.
Yeah. More versatility on the Ultra. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, but that's one way that you can test that. And then like what I did is on my 705, my ICOM, my C705. I fed a -74 dBm signal into that to test my S meter to see if my S meter was accurate. And so most of these radio manufacturers calibrate S9. They don't calibrate the 6 dB delta between each one is what it's supposed to be. And I'm not calling any radio manufacturers out because I don't want them to shoot me, but you would be surprised at how many radios start to, like, all S4s aren't created equal. I'll just leave it at that.
Right. Yeah. Right. You know, when I give signal reports on POTA and whatnot, it's all subjective.
Yeah.
It's all like, hey man, your signal's booming. I don't really care what the meter says. You're getting an S9, and if your signal's in the noise, I don't care even if you are moving the needle. If your signal's in the noise, you're getting a 5.2 or a 4.4 or something like that. So
yeah. So we've given signal reports as hams since before people had S meters on radios.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So it's supposed to be how you're hearing their particular signal.
Right.
Not exactly what the S meter says, but so a lot of people are like, well, you're pegging my S meter, which is fine to know, but there's so many different things that factor into that.
But if you have an S9 noise floor and I'm pegging your meter, I don't find that too impressive, you know.
Right. Well, the thing is that you can adjust your RF gain.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
A lot of people leave that wide open. I never do that because I like to have it I'd like to be able to hear, and when I'm older, you know, so I don't want to hear all that static and stuff. So I usually keep mine at around the 12 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay.
So what were we trying to test here?
Well, I was going to see how low of a signal that we could hear into that radio, because if you compare the
Yaesu to
the Yaesu to the Baofeng, it's a significant difference. The Yaesu can hear much lower than the Baofeng can.
Okay.
Nice.
So what's the lowest you've heard on a Baofeng then?
Like around 139 probably.
So
but that's really grainy. And then I've gotten like 140, -144, 145 on the Yaesu, which is another S unit. And then another thing that you can do is you can put that signal like 25 kilohertz away, which is one channel. Actually, it would be the carrier of another channel. And if you can still hear that, then you know that your adjacent channel rejection is no good on the radio. You can test all that with the TinySA Ultra. The TinySA, I guess, doesn't go low enough.
So that's a good. I mean, if the Baofeng will hear better than this TinySA, lower than this TinySA will go, that's a reason. To me, that's a reason in and of itself to choose the Ultra. So
yeah, so I did a video where I was using 2 TinySAs to inject 2 signals into the Baofeng. And you would hear it go dead. Like it would just completely go dead because it couldn't make the distinction between the two because of the direct conversion receiver that's built into the Baofeng as opposed to super hets that are in the Yaesu.
Right. Right. Yeah. Huh. And how far down will this TinySA go? Like, is it good for testing HF radios?
It sure is. So if you want to grab one, we can do it.
Let's see.
I'd recommend a QRP given the attenuator.
So FEP labs, when you're getting that, Jason's asking several times in the chat.
That's Jim.
I know. Ape, can you explain how to use 2 or more attenuators to tamp down a strong signal?
Yeah. So these are both 10-watt attenuators, so I don't really do it with these. But I'll take this as a 100-watt attenuator. So if I was testing a signal on my 7300 at 100 watts, I would put this one on here. and that would bring my signal down to 0 dBm. But because TinySAs are so sensitive, you really want a lower signal coming in and just adjust for it when we adjust the external gain. This goes near your radio. Don't mess that up. This goes near the TinySA, and then you would just connect these two together, and then you would add. So like this is a 30, what is this one? This is a 10 dB attenuator, and this one is a 40. So if I add these together, now I've got 50 dB of attenuation.
Why does the order matter? Which one gets closer to the
Well, because
radio?
this big one can handle 100 watts. This little one can only handle 10. So if I attenuate 100 watts by 40 dB, then I can hook this one up and continue attenuating. If I switch them around and I push 100 watts to this, I'm gonna smoke the innards.
Okay, I get you.
I'm gonna have to wait on this. So I've got my original FX4C here. This is the
Nice.
FX4C, not the CR. That's the new one. It has a BNC connector on it, but I do not have a BNC male to SMA connector. I have a BNC female to SMA. But
We'll see if you can put the barrel connector in place and see if you can do it that way.
Let's see.
You need to get a big box of all the different connector types, Jason.
I've got Kyle's tackle box down here, man. This thing is awesome. But
Where is it?
Yeah, send that
I
to
don't
me.
have that. I've never had a need for that type of connector. So obviously I need to upgrade my game. So let's
Cam
see.
radio outlets just up the street.
Yeah, that's the same.
Yeah, that would be terrible if I had one close by. I'd probably be there all the time.
I work less than 5 minutes from that place. It
this
is.
I'm actually going to be in Dallas in about 2 weeks,
What?
but I'm landing at like 2 in the afternoon, and then I've got to go to a meeting at 4, and then I have to go to a dinner, and then I have to fly out at like 8 o'clock the next morning.
Ooh.
That's no good. You should stay longer next time.
Well,
I know,
you
right?
know, that's I should have finagled something where I was doing that, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling I'll be down in Dallas a lot in the future.
You got time for another question, or are you about ready to go, Jason?
I am
We
not.
got-
No, I don't have. I'm not sure I've got the right connectors here.
Well,
but
all
go
right.
ahead,
So,
go ahead.
Liberty Cave, how do you test FRS radios with no ability to put them on a dummy load?
Well, you
That's a
can
good question.
if you have an attenuator and then you can feed the attenuator into your TinySA, then you can test them that way. Now the rules for GMRS and FRS are overly complicated. They're way more complex than they are for ham radios. So I don't test them. Because the thing is like you have to have a certain percentage of power within a certain frequency away. And then it just keeps cascading. It like if you read it, I'm just like, I'm not smart enough to figure that formula out.
So with an FRS radio, to be legal, it doesn't have a removable antenna. I think what he's asking.
No,
No,
no, no.
you-
Oh, how? Ooh.
So
Yeah,
most of the time,
You
if take
can't
a
can't unscrew the antenna. So
most of the time, if you take a look at an HT
Mhm.
and you look at the antenna, there'll be a little teeny tiny set pin in there that would use
Yeah.
like.
yes,
So if you
I've
remove
seen
that set
too.
pin, then you can go ahead and unscrew it.
That's true.
That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can crack it open and then solder onto the antenna port. And
Mhm.
you know, you have to have steady hands to do that.
It's just an FRS radio. It doesn't matter.
Right.
No, I don't have the right connectors, but this will be a test that I perform next time. So, Ape, I might get you back on the show.
Yeah, man, we can do that.
Maybe we'll do hey, this is the battery that I built last night, guys. I got the shrink wrap and everything. So I was going to plug this into my FX4 radio. I was going to show you that it worked.
Do a double test there.
That's right. Yeah, double test. But no,
That
I don't
is-
have a I would need an SMA female to BNC male, and I don't have that.
Yeah.
So,
Josh is saying you could use the antenna for the TinySA to look at the output. I don't know what the rules
Oh.
say for FRS and GMRS, but for amateur radio, you have to measure at the antenna output. So
Mhm.
even if you measure through 25 feet of coax, it's not a legitimate test because they want they want the envelope at the antenna output.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Well, that is hey, this was fun. I enjoyed every part of this. So how do I get back to the main menu on this thing?
I was about to
I think
say,
it should have
can
a
you
back
replicate-
There's not a
You
back
escape
option.
all the steps and understand what just happened
Oh,
here.
switch to
Jason?
low. Well, I can rewatch my own video, so there's always that. There's this
The
thing called
easiest
YouTube
way.
where everything is recorded.
Yeah, the
So-
easiest way to get it back is to turn it off and turn it back on.
No, actually, if I went back into it and I said switch back to low, and it came back to the main screen.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So yeah, because
Hey,
you were switching it to high.
We
Yeah,
have a
so-
burning question here, and I think it's very topical for today's topic. From
Once I
Ham
get
Red-
one, I say it. Once I get one.
you
Now, what I'll
ruined
say
the
to,
run up.
what I'll say to Frank is that I may or may not be in your logbook.
Ape is in my logbook. Every time I see him on FT8, I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, how's it
Yeah.
working out there?"
Searching right now for Clarence.
Clarence, yeah,
Clarence
search
is
for
in
Clarence.
Have you worked me?
I don't
I-
think so.
I think you said once we actually might have done.
We may have. I'd have to go back and check. I actually have no idea.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, good. This was exactly what I wanted to do tonight. So thank you, Ape,
Yeah, man.
for the time. And
Anytime.
It's
So
gonna
if you want to get those connectors, and we can.
yeah, we can do that. We'll get. In fact, I've got a couple of QRP radios. I just got the Mountain Topper, the new MTR 4BN.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's weird because I always tell people I hate QRP, but then I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, well, yeah, but I own one of every radio.
Yeah, I've got a
Even-
mess of QRP radios.
I'm like, so I must really hate QRP. I don't know, but
Well, I like making fun of QRP mostly because the people who do it, but it's not so much the radios. Like that 4C that you have there. Like I was almost going to get the 4CR, but I'm like, I just
Yeah.
don't need another QRP radio.
Yeah. I tell you what, that 4CR, I actually think I like the 4C a little bit better than the 4CR.
Oh, do you?
Well, yeah, because the 4C is 10 watts. I've done 10 watts on sideband and 10 watts on FT8. The 4CR advertises 20 watts, but it only does like 5 to 7 watts on FT8. It does 20 watts on sideband. I can't remember I think it does like 5 to 7 watts on CW as well. But so I was like, well, a little QRP radio like that, my own personal preference, I would do FT8 with it more than anything. So I was a little bit disappointed that it did less power than its predecessor on FT8.
Yeah, Josh
so-
is saying QRPs for heroes. Now, I admire the skill of somebody who can make
Yeah.
a lot of good QRP contacts. But my problem is that they're like the vegans of ham radio because they have to tell everybody.
Yeah, they
right? It's
never
like,
shut up
"Oh,
about it.
QRP.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to
Yeah.
hear about all that.
How about the
Yeah.
mobile guys driving down the road? Come on now, announcing
Hey.
that you're not paying attention.
Hey, I love the mobile guys because they work me on POTA. Every
I
time
think
I
they're
hear a
crazy.
mobile station on POTA, I'm like, hey, there's a mobile station. Come on back. I like the mobile guys.
I had a QRP station, and
So-
last activation was like one of the loudest stations I've heard. I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but
I've had
Yes.
QRP. Yeah, I've had QRP stations that came in there. I'm like, okay, yeah, you sound good.
Well,
But, no.
these mobile guys, especially ones doing CW and stuff like that. Now, people are like, when these guys been doing CW for 55 years, they are so damn good. They dream in CW.
Yeah, they probably do.
I'm like, I don't know about doing that while driving. You know what I'm saying? Like I can.
well, yeah,
I can barely eat my sandwich, drink my drink, and drive. I would never be able to add CW into the mix.
I gave up trying to eat tacos and driving. It's just a mess on the shirt.
Yes.
Larry says here, I'm about to stop doing POTA with my 90 watt and a wire. Ain't and I cannot compete hunting with the station running 600 to 1.5 watts.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you.
I understand
Uh,
hunting with a low power because that's tricky. But if you're it doesn't matter how many watts you're running, activating, everyone wants to talk to you. So
Right.
it doesn't matter how many watts
You know what? QRP has its place and QRO has its place, in my opinion. QRP is great if you got a small pack and you're sitting on top of a mountain.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Mhm.
Well,
But
if-
out here in the flatlands, it ain't so great.
Well, if you can't haul the equipment around and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to have a
Right.
little bit of a problem. The other
Yeah.
thing is the QRP people are. So what they do when they try to get you to join their team is they talk about decibels as opposed to watts, right? Because they're like,
Right.
oh, it's
Mhm.
just a few dB per S unit. So I mean, come on now, if you get an
Mhm.
antenna that has this much gain. But if you look at it linearly as opposed to logarithmic, you start to see, and we saw today when we did the test when we looked at watts versus the dB, right? 'Cause
Yes.
to me, I think that is just a little bit of like where people are like, just think about how healthy your colon will be if you go vegan. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's the same premise where it's like, well, I don't know if that's really a legit conversation.
That's not. Yeah. I hate to tell you, but we were born to be meat eaters.
Right.
That's just how we were made. And some people have legit medical conditions. Fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Some people are legit allergic to peanut butter. I don't think I'd still be alive if I was allergic to peanut butter.
Right. Like, so if you were allergic to RF,
so,
then you should operate QRP. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So Bill's asking here, what is the limits of spur emissions to pass? -40, 60?
So it depends on the frequency and the power levels, but
yes.
On UHF and on VHF what we were testing, it's 40 dB down from the fundamental if you're operating less than 25 watts. So those numbers change depending upon which frequencies you're using and power level.
Yes. Power. Cool.
Well, this was medical conditions now in the chat.
I know. We just stumbled onto 80 meters now.
Yeah. We're all on 80 meters now. That's funny. So, Ape, when's your next Hallmark movie night? Is it on Fridays?
Well, it's supposed to be Saturday or Sunday nights.
Okay.
And then it depends. It depends on which. Like the Hallmark movie channel is all man-hating stuff.
Yes, it is.
You know, like everyone is like the man gambles too much, or he drinks too much, or he's got a girlfriend, and then and then a lot of times the wife ends up killing him, and everybody's like, "Oh, I just love the way that Nancy was able to get rid of her husband." And I'm like, I don't like this kind of stuff. I'd prefer y'all not watch it. So I'm not.
Well,
I'm not a fan.
The reason I ask is our next happy hour is next Friday. So I would love it. I would love it if you would come back to the happy hour on Friday.
Yeah, let me.
I was about to say, what did I miss here?
Yeah.
let me.
Because every time I invite Ape to the channel for some YouTubers get together we have, he's like, "Well, that's Hallmark movie night, son."
Right. Well, I have to work around it.
Yeah. Why don't you grow a pair and do some YouTube, bud?
Joe Brett's in there making fun of me. Joe Brett, we were talking about your busted attenuator earlier, buddy.
Just bring up peanut butter whiskey if you want to shut up Joe Brett. It's easy.
Yeah, I don't know about drinking that.
I
got some Miller's sitting on ice right now. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
Drink a few.
I almost polished off my whiskey. The Four Roses.
That's not the bottle you showed at the beginning that was full, is it?
It was not full. What I showed at the beginning was here.
Oh, but is that what you're drinking right now, Frank?
Yeah, that's what I just polished off.
Okay.
Good for you.
It's almost gone, but I have a liter. This was the one I showed at the beginning.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah. I thought you had a full bottle.
Oh yeah, that's what I was holding up as my award for 4,000 subscribers. Y'all love me.
Well, I got to tell you that. So the Buffalo Trace is a really nice bourbon. I remember when it was $26 for a bottle. Now it's like around $40 for a bottle.
Yeah.
It's all the everybody got into drinking bourbon and it raised the price.
But that and several lists came out and just wiped the shelves on all the bourbon I was enjoying for $20 to $30. McKenneth Bottle and Bonded 100 proof that was going for $25, and now it's a rare item. Eagle Rare. I used to find it on the shelves about $4.
Yeah, like Eagle Rare. Well, I used to drink the Van Winkle bourbons all the time.
Oh,
and so I used to. My favorite is the Lot B. It's a 12-year-old Van Winkle, and I used to get it for $40 a bottle. And I had some of the other, I had the 23, the 20-year-old. I had a bunch of them. And then Anthony Bourdain was the one that told everybody how great it was. And that's really what shot the price of it up. I sold a bottle out of my stash for $900 that I paid somewhere around $80 for.
You should have bought 1,000 bottles of that at $40 a pop, dude. You could retired already. Yeah.
Because this one store by me always had it. And so I go up there and I asked him and he goes, dude, I can't get it anymore. And he goes, and if I could, I'd have to charge you more money. Oh. I'm like, son, I've been coming here for years. You trying to rip me up?
That's right. That's right.
But, last time
Josh, you've just committed yourself, buddy. He says, I'll bring my attenuators to the happy hour if I'm around this month. Well, you got to be around now. You just committed to it. So that's everyone, you heard it here first.
So I was just at Specs when we were trying to buy this monster bottle. I grabbed the wrong one, but anyways, and I was asking like, "Do you have this or that?" And she's like, "You're asking all about the allocated bottles." I'm like, "I used to drink most of these 3-4 years ago, and they were just sitting on the shelves." She's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, now they're
when
all
the
got a wait
list
list
came
and all that
out.
kind of crap.
Well, yeah, in
Mhm.
order to get the list at Specs, you got to be one of the primary members or premium members where you spend over $1,000 a month. I'm like, I'm not drinking that much bourbon. If I am,
Mm.
help me.
So I used to run an IT engineering team, and whenever we would get a new person promoted from administrator to engineering, once a month we would all pull our money together and we would call this one liquor store and we would make massive orders, like a couple $1,000. And
Ooh,
we'd
that's
always
how you
send the
do it.
new guy. We'd be like, all right, it's your turn to go. And he's, he said, but it was my turn last month. It's like, it's your turn until we get another new guy. And
Love
Ouch.
it.
he would have to
Love
go
it.
up there and pick up cases of bourbon and bring them back in their car.
Oh
and
my
then drive 'em
God.
like this.
Well, that's how you get on the list, man.
Yeah, that's true.
So
The I found a bottle of scotch in my pantry the other day, and it was it had gotten hidden behind a couple other bottles, and I took it out and started poured myself a bottle of scotch, and I'm like, I know now why I don't drink bourbon more often, because scotch is so much better than bourbon.
they age scotch in bourbon bottles for a reason.
Yes, I know.
Yes, yeah.
So
Bourbon-
I mean, I don't know. It's just smoother. Everybody's tastes are different. Everybody. I know I give Ape a hard time about his Miller Lite obsession, and he doesn't like my dark beers, and it's all right. It's all good. But
what scotch are you drinking?
This one was a Glenlivet. No, Glenmorangie. Glenlivet is good. Dimple Pinch is good.
I don't like the real peaty ones. Like my favorite is
I don't like it, Pete.
But
Not
that's
like
pretty
it,
pricey. A bottle of
What-
Oban 12, I think is around 80 to 100 bucks, depending on where you go.
That's not too much for me. 'Cause honestly, if I buy a bottle, my wife will give me a bottle of scotch. Well, not every year, but a lot of times she'll give me a bottle of scotch at Christmas. And that bottle of scotch that I just finished, like 2 weeks ago, was one she gave me at Christmas last year. So it's been like 9 months or 10 months.
I'll tell you what, man,
And
I've got
so
a bottle of
just-
Indian scotch that I will give to you at Dayton next year, Jason.
Okay.
And
I was going to ask if you're going to Orlando again.
I don't know yet, so
Okay.
I just don't know. Like we typically try to line that up with our annual Disney trip that we do.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's the availability of the timeshare is where that becomes a little bit of a challenge.
Oh, you got a timeshare out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I was saying though is that because I work with tons of people from India, they always give me bottles of these Indian scotch. And
Is it good?
I don't know.
I like Indian food.
Yeah,
I used
well,
to bunch. My last IT job, we had a bunch of Indian people there, and we would do this potluck, just like the whole IT department would, and they'd bring all this Indian food, and I'm like, okay, it looks kind of weird, and I ask them what it is, and it's got some weird. I was like, I don't know how to say that,
like
but you
vindaloo.
taste it, and it's like, you taste it, and it's like, man, this is really good.
Well, they
So,
do make a barbecue chicken. It's like super red. I think it's called tandoori chicken. That I love.
Yeah, that's good.
Some of the
That's
other
good.
stuff I'm not such a fan of, but
I have yet to have anything that I did not like. Some of it I like better than other stuff, but for the most part, I think I like most of it. So it's not. I enjoy most all ethnic foods. I have not had haggis yet.
yeah, I don't think I'm going to line
yeah,
up to
I would
test
like.
that.
I'll try it.
yeah,
I'll try it
yeah.
once.
I'll try it once. I told my wife I'd try anything once. I've never tried haggis, but
Mhm.
yeah. But all the Asian foods, I love Thai food. Yeah.
When I went to the
like all that
Philippines,
kind of
man,
stuff.
they were eating balut, which is like a unhatched duck inside of an egg that's like, I don't know, weeks old or something like that.
Yes.
I was like, I ain't eating that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not eating
Yeah,
that.
Josh has talked about that. Apparently, that's a delicacy for his wife's family.
That's great.
So yeah, yeah, that's great.
I'll
Okay.
love to try that.
Uh,
Talking about Orlando,
Oh,
man.
I'm
boy.
like, yeah, I'll tell you, I'll do you a favor and let you have my share of that.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to try it once just to say I did, but yeah. Apparently, it's pretty inhumane the way they do it. That's what I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, I don't want to eat that just because it's inhumane the way they do it. I'm like, yeah,
yeah. But I mean, look at the way the pigs are treated for bacon. You know what I mean? Like,
it's true.
So
That's
I don't
true,
know. I'm
yeah.
just not. They're talking about rattlesnake and bull nuts. I'm not eating none of that.
Rattlesnake is good.
It might be
Rattlesnake is good.
fantastic, but I
I
wouldn't know.
had mountain
I wanna
oysters
try
one
that.
time, and there was so much breading
Ooh.
around them you couldn't really tell what they were. So
Yeah, I don't know about that.
yeah,
Mhm.
but
Kind of
yeah.
back on amateur radio here. Maybe the last question here. Bill's asked, how or where do you find a chart or list of the limits of spur emissions, frequencies versus power, as Ape explained?
It's part 97, section 47, I believe. So just go to Google and type in part 97 spurious emissions amateur radio, and it'll probably pull up the Cornell website to that link, and you can check it in there. And then, Bill, once you start messing around with it, you'll start to be like, oh, well, 5 watts is 37, 10 watts is 40 dB. You know, it's just like anything else. And when you start doing it, it becomes second nature to you.
Interesting. Josh is coming back at you. That's funny.
I know.
But as you were
Listen,
talking
it's not a
about-
human, so how can it be inhumane? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get that.
Well, there's such a thing to be said for the ethical treatment of animals. Like, you know, these slaughterhouses that feed cows a bunch of corn and where they can't even move around, and
Right,
then
right.
it's to get them all fat and everything.
Well,
I'm
you
like,
want a tender?
yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, but grass-fed, free-range cattle tastes better than that slaughterhouse crap does anyway.
Yeah,
So,
we pretty much
know.
eat grass fed.
So do we. We buy our well. I shoot a lot of our meat because I have the deer lease, so we eat a lot of venison and pork. And then we have a local butcher here in town that slaughters a cow every couple months or something, and we'll buy our meat, our beef locally here as well. So we don't even buy. I don't think we bought meat except for chicken, beef. I don't think we bought any red meat at the store for like 5 years.
Yeah, we
like that, so.
have a guy that does grass fed Longhorn close by, and so I buy that a lot.
Yeah.
That's super lean
Yeah.
though. Like some people want like a nice big old fatty ribeye or something like that. So you want to get like a Angus cow or whatever it is for that. But
Yeah. Well, Josh, I will try it. I said I would try anything once, and I would try it.
Mhm.
But I just heard it was inhumane. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? I think I'm thinking of frogwa.
Frogwa, that's like
Yeah.
duck
It's like
pate.
It's like a fatty goose liver,
Yeah.
and
the duck ears, whatever.
they force feed the goose a bunch of meat so it gets really fat, so the liver gets big. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've never had that either.
But
Yeah.
balut is a fertilized egg, so I mean it would have hatched if they didn't not
Right.
hatch it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But you're still rolling dice, man. You don't know.
I mean, you know,
It
I
doesn't
don't
mean
know.
Yeah,
you're
They got like
Uh,
veins and stuff in there, all like and membranes and stuff.
I'll
I'm
try
not,
it.
you know.
I heard it looks weird. So you look
Yeah.
at it, and you're like, what the heck is? I don't know. I've never had it. I don't know.
It's
Apparently,
got a stank. It's got a
Josh,
stank too.
Josh likes. I think I'm pretty sure Josh said he liked it. So every time he says that he would drink one of my pickle beers, I'd be like, well, yeah, but you're weird already, dude. So.
Listen, I'll drink a pickle beer any day over eating balut.
Josh just said he hasn't tried balut yet.
They're saying veal is humane, but if you get
No, balut.
chop,
I haven't even tried balut.
The goose liver is fogwa, or however you say that.
Yeah.
Balut.
But
I
it's
thought you said you
outlawed
had.
And
I thought you said you had balut. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else. But
well, now Josh
Yeah.
has got to try balut.
I know.
I thought he said it was something that something that was popular in Chinese culture, which his wife is Chinese. So
We'll just find a restaurant at the next Hamfest
Or-
and we'll go
no.
and we'll try it.
it was Vietnamese culture.
Yeah, I don't
And-
think you're going to
Yes, it
find
it was
a
a
balut
Vietnamese
restaurant
culture.
down in
No.
Huntsville.
No, probably not.
Well, what's the next one? It's going to be Orlando. Orlando's
Orlando,
the next one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Orlando's the next big get together. Yeah, Orlando, and then
Yeah, it's like February, right? It's like the second week of
Yes.
February.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yep.
Ape, I still can't forget how you came up to me.
Oh, right. Yeah, like jumped
I
over
I
that,
was
did
like
all that.
so dazed. I was like,
Mm.
Yeah, well, with the worst was MRD will probably tell you. I groped him,
I didn't know that.
but it was in a non-sexual way, and
Story, please. I didn't know this.
Mm.
well, the thing is, nobody knew I was going to be there, and it was funny because I didn't want to get spotted. So, like, even when I pulled into the parking lot, I had my COVID mask on. You know what I'm saying? And then so that way I was able to make my way into the fairgrounds without anybody knowing.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
And you gave them your GMRS license at the window?
Hey, you don't have to give a license to get in. So and when you go up, you just tell them a name, and they go to the will call box and hand it to you. They didn't even check out ID or anything like that.
Clearance.
Because I was going to tell them, as a sovereign citizen, it's unconstitutional for them to ask for my identification. So
more so than that, we actually welcome newcomers into ham radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we should be, and those of you who don't can go back to QRZ and stay there.
Yeah, well, if you, like a lot of people bring their old lady, right? And a lot of times they're not hams. So down in Orlando, they had a nice Tupperware section in one of the.
They usually have nice jewelry or handbags. When I shoot my pictures for random stuff I find, I make sure it's not some of that or the stuff that's open up for the ladies there, because I'm not trying to pick on that. And I think it's awesome that they're there, and there's sometimes cool crafts there. There was a guy that did chainsaw art at Huntsville. No.
Cool crafts is what he says.
Cool crafts.
We're talking about frog legs now. Frog legs are damn good, guys.
I don't know. I had
frog legs
those,
are really good.
Another chicken wing.
It's like very lean, juicy chicken.
If I was hungry, but like I got a policy.
No, frog legs are good.
I don't want to eat bugs, reptiles, or amphibians.
Kangaroo? I'll try kangaroo.
I've had kangaroo. That's actually.
I haven't had kangaroo. No, I haven't done that.
Oh, I tried Tim Tams, and those are amazing.
They taste different than kangaroo.
Those are kangaroo cookies, right?
Kangaroo tastes real minerally. Like it's got a real heavy mineral. But like I had kangaroo burgers. I had a kangaroo steak. I had kangaroo kebabs. So I've been to Australia a few times for work. So
haven't tried that yet. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining tonight. This was a really interesting stream. You're going to be seeing more of this being used on the channel, I think, because every time I get a new radio, I have at least one commenter that says, "Why don't you put it on a spectrum analyzer?" I'm like, "Okay, well now I can do that."
Yeah.
So, which is a good question. It's a fair question. So,
we kind of have a responsibility as amateur radio reviewers to do it.
Yeah.
So when you get the connectors in or whatever, if you want to catch up offline, I'll show you what I got, and then we can do.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Well, thanks for having me on. Thanks everybody in chat. Had a great time tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Ape. It's always good to have you on. Good wealth of information and knowledge there. So I appreciate your expertise tonight for sure.
Anytime.
So yeah, you guys have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow night on Monday Night Ham Radio. I have a premiere tomorrow. I think a couple of other people do
got one
too. So
yeah,
good. Okay. So yeah, we'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Everyone, goodbye.
Bye.